Hi, everybody. I'm still Professor Brennan, and we are still talking about culture and interpersonal communication. This is part 4. We will be finishing up in this part, just so you know. I just can't say enough about how important it is to talk about culture. And the last thing I said in that video was, if you want to become a competent communication, competent, competent communicator in culture, the key is tolerance. That is the key. And to really recognize that there are other ways of doing things, that for people in those positions or in that life or how they grew up, right? That is the way that they know how to do things. And it's just as real and true for them as what you do is true for you. Tolerance is really key. And it is the place where if you're tolerant, then people can then decide what they want to change. Remember, culture is dynamic. So people can change things about themselves, but they won't do it if they're being judged. They'll do it when they find, oh, you know what? I like that better. I'm going to do that. That's how people will change. First, they have to decide that they don't want to do it that way anymore. So let's go back to the PowerPoint right now. We ended there. And now let's look at what we call becoming aware of your own personal orientation system. Okay? Think about, and I'm having you look at this, I believe, in your journal. I'm having you look at, things that you have that we learn in a cultural context. Something that offers, in the cultural context, things that are both positive and negative, right? You can learn in your own culture to not like a certain group of people, right? What if you're a person that is strongly like fundamentalist Christian and you really don't like Jewish people? You don't believe in Jews. Or, what if you're like a strong, staunch conservative person and you are really afraid of, I don't know, let's see, you're white, you're conservative, again, I'm stereotyping, right? And you're from uh, the Northwest, okay? And maybe you haven't had much interaction with people of Latin origin. And so you have these stereotypes about people, right? Or let's say you're black and your whole life experience around white people has been really bad. And so you're wondering, when you meet a white person, you're just not sure, right? Is this person going to be the same as the other white people that I've known? Or you're just distrusting? This is all about our culture and our upbringing. It's either right or wrong. It just is. And again, I'm stereotyping in all those. Okay. So obstacles to consider. Our own ethnocentrism. This is the belief that our culture is superior to other cultures. Stereotypes that we have. I've already had you look at the stereotype threat, so you're aware of stereotypes, and it's about our perception, how we make generalizations about one person's particular habit or the group that they belong to, that everyone in that group does such and such a thing. Prejudice we have. Prejudice is just like, prejudice means to prejudge. Prejudice comes from somewhere. It comes out of fear, but it's prejudging someone before you have all the information. That's what that means. I'll tell you what, we're human beings and we are animals, right? And we have fear. People do it all the time. It's neither right nor wrong, good or bad. It just is part of our makeup. The more awareness we have of what it is, the more we can change it. But judging yourself over is not going to help you. Okay, racism. We talked about racism. Racism, to me, racism is a disease in our society. And we're not the only society that has it. But it is a disease that we must keep working at getting rid of. And we have to look at who, in racism, we have to look at who benefits from it and who perpetuates it. Okay. Homophobia. Homophobia basically is the fear of the LGBTQ community, the fear of people that aren't heterosexual, right? The fear that you can catch being gay by touching a gay person. Or if two gay people, did you know a lot of gay couples who raise kids, their kids are straight? That's what they mean by homophobia. Or when they didn't believe that gay people could get married, that's homophobia, right? Having a prejudice or a fear against people because of their sexual orientation that doesn't fit what they think is normal. Xenophobia is a fear of anything that's different, right? And again, phobia is a fear. Fear is, another word for fear is false evidence appearing real. So fear is not even, there's fear for your life when someone's holding a gun at you or they have a knife and they're going to slit your throat. That's real fear. But fear of people because of how they look, really. And I can think of things that like you should be like the stereotypes we have of people that are all tatted up on their face, right? Generally speaking, people like that have been in prison. Does that mean that they're going to be bad people? No, it doesn't mean that. But there are stereotypes about that, right? Like deciding what's a healthy fear and what's a not healthy fear. When do you give people a chance to prove you wrong? And when do you even like, why do you have to think like that? So it's just really, it's an exploration and we get better and better over time. If you want to, you have to have an open mind and open heart to do it. Okay. Another obstacle to being a competent communicator is extremism of any kind, folks, of any kind, whether it's to the left or to the right, it doesn't matter. When you're on the extreme, when you see things from an extreme point of view, okay, you can't see the whole picture. And I'm not saying the middle way is the right way, but it is a narrow view of life in any extreme. You become narrow in your point of view and your view of things. I'm going to give you an example and then I'm going to shut up for the rest of this lecture. When I was, for about a year, I was vegan. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of reasons to be vegan, especially in the industrialized society that we live in. Animals, if you care about animals at all, if you're a person like me that loves animals and I wouldn't want to live on a planet without them. If you look at slaughterhouses, if you look at factory farming, if you look at just drive down the 41 toward the coast, you see what the cows, the cattle, and the dairy cows and how they're treated and their living conditions. It's disgusting. It's absolutely chicken houses. All of it is disgusting. Okay. So that alone, part of it was one of the reasons I became vegan. And I focused on all that. And here's what I did is I decided I picked and chose what things I wanted to focus on. And then I was in school. This is actually when I was in grad school. And I remember a friend of mine telling me how the dairy cow farm that her uncle had, something like that, some family member, the cows had water beds to lay on. That's what she told me. Like their cows, it was a dairy farm, were really well taken care of. And maybe they didn't all have water beds. Maybe the ones that were pregnant. I don't know. But the point is, in my mind, I had decided that all like factory farms everything was factory farming. There wasn't any other incidents or any situations that weren't like that. And it was to back up my choices. Okay. That's extremism. And then what happened for me, and I'm not saying being a vegan is bad, is I got sick with the flu. 3 times within a month and a half. Like, I couldn't get over this. And I said, forget it. I'm going to make I make the bomb chicken soup, homemade chicken soup. And vegetable soup was not going to cut it. I needed chicken. And I did that, and I haven't looked back. So that's what I need for myself. That's what works for me. Okay. And I find my way of having gratitude for the food that I eat and the animals that are killed on my behalf so I can eat. That's the way I deal with it. But any kind of extremism or fundamentalism, people have in religion. You can be in extremism in your Christianity or being a Muslim, or extremism. You could be extreme Christian, like asceticism, which means like denying yourself everything, right? There's all kinds of different ways you can be extreme. You could be extreme in your militant beliefs about things, right? There are all kinds of social movements that are example of extremes. Again, giving you a narrow view of things. And if your work is really to be competent at communicating with almost anyone that you come in contact with, that you'll want to then open your heart and widen your circle. So that's all I got. Thanks for listening. I will see you all later, and I hope you enjoyed this lecture on culture and interpersonal communication. Be well.